Hello ETL enthusiasts, welcome to this presentation. I have been preparing presentations based on the Informatica session properties lately. Part 1, Part 2 are already being uploaded to the YouTube channel, and this one is Part 3. By the way, my name is Sriram, presenting this presentation. Let us start the music. This presentation is based on a real-time case. And how do we set all the parameters in the session properties? Okay, let us see the requirement. I don't want to give a real-time name, any particular client or something. That's why I used my name itself. Okay, so this project is, let us see the requirement. This project is S360, Sriram 360 integration project. Okay, so order information is usually received in a CSV file format named STS transaction.csv. STS is Sriram transaction system is a Oracle database. From then there is some other process which makes a CSV file for this Sriram 360 integration project. Okay, this file has product, customer, and order details of all transactions of that particular day from this particular system. Okay, what the requirement is to split this data and load it into three target tables, namely order table, product table, and customer table in Teradata. Order table has foreign keys with product and customer table, whereas product and customer tables are independent, they have only primary keys. Let us see mapping. M underscore S 360 underscore transaction load. Okay, let us name like that because we are loading order details. Oh, before that, let us see the parameter file. That is the best practice. We have to use the parameter file every time. That will make the code flexible and reusable with very less changes in the actual code when environment changes. Okay, if you want, we'll discuss that parameter file thing in the next presentation. Let us concentrate on the mapping and the properties in this presentation. Okay, let us see the parameter file and its section. I have this parameter file here. Okay, this is the format we generally use for parameter file. Let us see individual sections of this. First section has target, stage, and EDW database connections. TAD means Teradata, Teradata underscore S360 underscore stage, that is for stage database. TD underscore S360 underscore EDW is our target database, that is enterprise data warehouse. Okay, and we have a schema and source target prefixes here. So STXN is the source schema prefix and target schema prefix is S360. And we have um, table name, source and target table names also parameterized here in case of any changes in future. Say for example, TAB is the table name starting with, right? So if management wants to change it as TBL underscore, then we can easily change the parameter file instead of the each and every session of that particular project. And also I have input, output, and source file directory file information here that will be useful in the session properties. Okay, let us see how these things can be set in the session properties. Before going to that, let us see the mapping that we have prepared for this project. Sorry, this particular requirement. Okay, so I have a source flat file which has three target tables can be data loaded. So if you see here, SSTS order.csv is one of the CSV flat file I have, and that is my source here. After that source qualifier, and I have expression, and I have some router to make the data available into T customer, T product, and T order table. Okay, there is an unconnected lookup just for a case. This case particularly CBLO, that is constraint based load ordering. Okay. This is source perspective. Let us see what source has. Okay, so source file has order number, product date, product ID, product description, customer ID, customer name, order date, order quantity, and unit price. This is the source data we have. From there we have to load it into T customer, T product, T order tables. Okay, Let us see target perspective here. The same mapping. Okay. So SST order.csv is our source file, source qualifier, and expression I have, and then router to route into multiple tables, and I have a product, order, customer tables here. Okay. Let us see how the target table structure is. Lookup is unconnected lookup here. So I have a customer here with customer ID and customer name. So from source, we want to load these data into customer table. Product table is product ID, product description, and unit price from the same source. Anti-order is a table, order number, order date, order quantity, product ID, and customer ID. Product ID, customer ID are the foreign keys, um, which has reference into product table and customer table relatively. Okay, those are the foreign keys we have designed in our order table. Okay, now let us see the properties. How to set. So our case is CBLO. So session properties to set. The session named as S underscore M underscore S360. That's the project name. STS is the source name. Orders underscore load. That is our session we have. Mapping is M underscore S360 STS orders load in general. So these are the session properties of the properties tab. Write backward compatible session logs, that has to be enabled. So we are checking that. There's a checkbox. You just need to check it. Session log file name, usually the session name dot log. Okay, we have to check it whether it is created properly or not. Source connection value, here source is flat file, so that's why this is empty. Target connection value, that is $tgt underscore s360 underscore edb connection. So enterprise data warehouse connection database we are loading into, which we already discussed in the parameter file section. Okay, treat source rows as, by default treat source rows as will be insert, so you don't need to worry about this one. It can be as is, as we don't have the update strategy. This is not data driven. Okay, enable high precision is also a best practice to have, so that's why we checked this one. This is useful when you have a more number values like integer and more than decimal values. This will be helpful. This is we already discussed in the session properties 1 presentation. If you want, you can revise, recheck it. Okay, let us see the next tab. So we have a config tab. Next one, how do we set config tab here? So our constraint based load ordering, this is constraint based load ordering because we wanted to load the parent table customer product first. After that order has to be loaded, otherwise there will be foreign key errors, or relationship errors may come. That's why foreign key issues may come. That's why we have to load the data into product, customer, and then order in the sequence. That's why in config tab we have option called constraint based load ordering, that has to be checked. Okay, and here it also has a couple of more need to be checked. Save session log by. So how do you want to save your session logs? You want to save session logs by session runs, and saves how many logs you want to save. So 5 will be given by default. So in development it will the space will be more occupied by this session log. So instead of that, because we will run multiple times here, right, while testing and all the stuff, that's why it is better to keep 5 so that it will be overwritten every time. You don't need to worry about that. Okay, stop on errors. We want to stop this session on first error itself instead of going further and messing up the data. It is very hard to correct the data. Instead of, we just stop that before it messing up the data. Let us see next tab here. That is our mapping tab. Okay, the source related properties, let us see that. Okay, and then we'll see target and then transformation level. So I have a mapping tab here for sources. So here our source is a flat file. So source file directory, we have to give a directory where the source files are coming from. So where integration service can go and check. that is $pm source file directory, which we already parameterized, and the parameter file has this reference. So source file name, what is the file name you want to use this for particular mapping flat file? So that is $input file, which we already mentioned in the parameter file. Source file type, whether it is a direct or indirect. Indirect is when we have multiple files, same structure, and you want to use the same mapping to load all those things, all those files, then you can use indirect. But here we are using direct because we have only one file to load. Let us see a flat file level properties what that we have in the session log, session properties, which can be overwritten. Okay, let us see session file properties for source. Okay, our source is a flat file which has CSV file format. So in this mapping tab itself, and the source under source tab, you can have session file parameters like this. You can decide. So first one is column delimiter. What column delimiter has? I mean, what is the column separator you have in your flat file? That is CSV. That is comma separated file. That's why they mentioned comma here. Second option you see optional codes. There are some files where you get where, say for example, address has commas also in the particular data. Say for example, house number comma, street name comma, city name comma, address, I mean the zip code, like that. So commas are already there. If you have a column delimiter as comma, then it will read individual values as a separate column. So instead of that, it will have a quotes, either single quote or double quote in address. Total address will be in double quotes so that the commas in inline will be ignored. That's why these quotes are important. Okay. Next one is number of initial rows to skip. If you want to skip the header, because header is not actual data, you don't want to read the header, so you will skip that header. These are the properties that you do for the source flat file. Let us see mapping tab, target related properties. Our target is our database here, Terra database. Okay. So target related properties here. Okay. So I have three targets. So three target connections need to be reset. So target connections, we use it as a target here, $target instead of $sts under td underscore s360 underscore edw database connection, because we already set this in the $target variable of the properties tab. That's why we are directly using $target for all these three connections. Okay, and load type, by default it will be bulk. We have to make it as normal. Bulk is not advisable, so normal is the best practice. Insert delete options will be by default enabled, so you don't need to worry about it. If you want, you can remove the delete one because we are only inserting here. If you want to truncate, then truncate option is there, but here we are not truncating it. So target table prefix, what is the schema in a database that target table is resides? The schema. Okay, that schema is target schema, which we already mentioned in the parameter file. And target table names are like this: stage, S360 customer, stage, S360 order. These are the three variables that we already set in the parameter file for a target table name. Okay, these are the target related properties to set. Let us see the transformation, because we have one lookup there. Okay, lookup is a transformation which is a database, so we have to set its properties. Okay, let us see what properties we can set. So there's the lookup connection. You have to select $target because the connection for target and target database and target lookup also is target. So that's why I'm using the same target variable here. And table name $stg360 ORD table, that is also variable which we already mentioned in the parameter file. Prefix, the schema name, we are also mentioning here. And SQL override, if you want to override the default query in the mapping with different parameters here, then you are welcome to modify it, or you can add multiple conditions depending on the requirement of the session. Okay, this is the mapping tab transformation related stuff. Let us see the components tab for the same session. There are four settings I'm doing here. Okay, pre-session command. Okay, so ours is flat file, and our Informatica or backend server is Unix. So I'm using a Unix command here. to remove the duplicates from the flood file, from the source file. Okay, so I'm using this command here, cat. I'm opening the file and sort, making it sort and unique, and then loading the data into input file, temp underscore input file name. Okay, then after that there's a colon. That means once that first command is success, then second command will start move the file name from temp input file name to input file name. So totally just removing the duplicates and putting the same data into the same file name again, so that the source can be started. So integration service does this before starting the session. That's why session will consider the file after made it unique. There is no duplicates will be there. Okay, then I'm using post session success command. After completion of this session success, I want to touch a particular 0 byte file. This is nothing but a trigger for next job to pick it up. Okay, this is trigger just to may mention that this session is completed successfully. Okay, post session failure command. This is also a trigger. I'm creating 0 byte file. Touch this one dot fail, session name dot fail. This will make sure to give the any other waiting jobs for this session to complete, that can take care of what is the next step if the previous session is failed. So that's why I'm just giving the trigger here. On failure email, every session must have this as a best practice, so that support team know that there is an error or there is a failure. So that's why we use it to set this on failure email. Okay, so this is something like this. So message will be like this: hi, the workflow percentile w, that is workflow name, has failed. Please find more details below. Session name percentile s, that will automatically give the session name. Session start time percentile b, and number of records to be loaded percentile l. Those are the built-in variables that can be used, and regards whatever team we are preparing here. You have a two section is also there. You can mention $$ PM success email user or failure email user. There are some variables which are defined in the admin level, server level by the admin people. Okay, so you don't need to worry about it. So every session failure must be notified to support team so that they can look into the error. Every session success email may not be needed, because after workflow completion, then we expect a success email instead of particular session success. So that's why this is the best practice. Okay, this is the components tab of the STS orders load constraint based load ordering case. That's the end of the presentation, folks. Thank you so much for watching this. Have a good one.